What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. As you saw in this one, we're going to be working on the rear firewall on the car so we can separate the cab from the back of the vehicle. I have a lot of stuff coming for the car over the next few weeks, and it's all coming in at once. It's a bit overwhelming, so I'm going to be just knocking stuff out, probably doing some things on my own time that you guys won't see, but regardless, I'll catch you up to speed as things continue. So in this one, we'll just dive right in. We're going to start making a template for the rear firewall. It's going to be at the rear seats, and it's going to go up to a half window. Now, normally you want to make your firewall once the roll cage is in the car, but I don't want to climb around a jungle gym once that's in. So what we're going to do is make our complete template, get it transferred over to sheet metal, and get that cut out. So I came out here late last night when everyone was asleep and just started toying with some designs and ideas on how I want to do this firewall. I have a vision in my head on how I want it to look, so we're going to do everything we can to make that a reality. Now, I'm going to be doing the firewall right here at the back of the battery tray. It's going to go from this base part, and ideally I would want it to come up at an angle and then come vertical right at the top, maybe 6 inches or so, because we're going to have expansion tank and reservoirs and a lot of stuff that I would like to mount up against the back of this firewall. We'll see how well that's going to work out. I came out here last night and was cutting up some templates and just kind of fitting in some cardboard to see how this is going to work. If I want to do exactly what I'm envisioning, I'm going to run into the back of this tray. Otherwise, I have to run a straight piece that's going to come to about here. And if I want to mount anything on it, I either have to angle it up against the firewall or build brackets to bring it back vertical. And I don't necessarily want to have the expansion tanks kind of floating or at an angle. So I'm going to mess around and do everything that I can. I'm probably going to have to cut out this battery tray and slide it forward a good 1.5 inches, 2 inches or so once I get the firewall in, which is whatever. So let me get these templates cut out and we'll start seeing what it's going to look like. So like I was saying, I came out last night and started kind of making a little template here on how I want this to fit up. So it's not perfect. I got it fit up fairly well. What I'm actually going to do is get rid of this section here and make this flat and see exactly how this is going to fit up. I think right here, if I'm resting up against the tray, it's going to put me pretty much where I want to be. Let me just whip this up and see how it's going to look. Now, the first time I made this, I was able to just transfer this over and mirror it, but this tower and this tower are not symmetrical. They're a bit different, so I don't think this is just going to butt right up like that one did. Alright guys, so I have the cardboard template thrown in now. It is a little bit of a pain because this is so flimsy, and obviously I've kind of just like jimmied the thing up to work. It's actually so flimsy now that it's causing me to not be as accurate as I would like where it's meeting on the sides. So I went to Home Depot and I got this big old 4x8 piece of hardboard, and it's a lot stiffer. Something like this will work much better. Now that I have like the main design and how it's gonna look, I'm gonna trace it over to this board and cut it out with a jigsaw. All right, so this didn't bend very straight, but it'll at least let me know if I'm in the right ballpark. All right, so I think this is gonna work just fine. I'm trying my best to get the firewall symmetrical on both sides. It's there for the most part. There's a little bit of tension on this side, so it's bowing. Like I said, the bend isn't straight on this side. It is straight on the back side where I was able to at least make my marks. It's all bent in the same spot. It looks good. Now I'm gonna be welding a piece that stretches across from side to side so I can put the Lexan window up top. So all of this will get cut once I get that in so it fits it up perfect. But for a template, I'd say this is pretty good. So what I like to do to try and get this fitment as perfect as possible is all these voids here that I can fill, maybe like half of this, all the little areas here that have just a small air gap. I like getting some cardboard and just fitting it up to where it fills those gaps. And I'll go around and just tape these pieces on. And once I go ahead and trace this over to sheet metal, it may be a little big and fit kind of tight, but I would rather that and slowly file it down than the opposite and have, you know, too big of gaps all over the place. All right, what's going on, guys? It's a new day. As you saw in the last clip, we got the template all done. It's ready to be copied over to some sheet metal. I ran to the metal store and got a big 5x4 sheet of steel. I'm gonna get that unloaded out of my truck, put it on the floor, and we'll go ahead and start tracing out this template onto the metal and we'll start getting it cut. Now, as you can see, this sheet is a bit seasoned. I'm probably going to hit it with an orbital just to clean it all up real quick, and then we'll go ahead and transfer over the template. Ooh, perfect size. I have like a 1/2 inch on either end, so woo, we like that. All right, so right here, I'm just using some Milwaukee shears. These things are dull in real time. This here probably took me at least 30 minutes. You'll see by the end, I am trembling, I am shaking. I mean, this thing killed my hand for probably a damn 2 or 3 days after cutting this whole sheet. Alright guys, so we have our piece bent. It is a nice, clean, crisp line. I'll put a clip in here if I haven't already of bending it up at Jack's Fab Shop. Justin over there is the shit, man. If you guys have seen all my videos, there's probably been a good quarter of them where I go over there and they allow me to use a lot of their stuff. But I want to give a big shout out to them because they are the best in Jacksonville. Anyways, here it is, all bent up perfectly how we want it, right on our line. I haven't even tried to test fit this yet since I cut everything out. I made it a little big in some spots, so I know for a fact I will have to do some trimming around the sides. But let's go ahead and throw it in, see how it goes. Okay, so after 100 tries, we are almost there. I got the driver's side fitted up perfect, a little bit of a gap here. Still is tight enough for me to stitch weld just fine and seam seal from the back, but the rest of this, it's hugging it all perfect. I could weld this all the way around. So now I am just tightening up the passenger side here. Okay, this has been a ginormous pain in the butt. This thing has come out at least 30 times now, but I'm doing my best to just do little bits at a time so I don't overdo it, and I think we got it where we want it. So on this side here, I'm gonna have to flex it just a little bit, but we're able to pretty much weld all the way around. It's hugging that extremely nice. A little bit of a gap up here, but still close enough to stitch weld. It's the same story on this side. I can weld pretty much all the way around. Some little gaps up here. It meets up when I push on it just a little. It meets up right where we want it to on both sides. I got a little bit of wiggle room and it's all good. So we are finally done cutting and trimming away at the firewall. But what I want to do now is make the strip that's going to stretch from this side across with the bow of the window back to this side. We're going to weld that in. We'll take the firewall, we'll bring it to this side of that strip, butt it up to it, and then we can trace this line and have a perfect shape that we can weld to that strip, and then the firewall will be in. I have the factory window in my backyard. I laid out some string across the curve of that window and got the length. I have it marked out here, and I have a 2-foot level that is exactly 1 inch thick. So I'm going to trace this all the way down. We'll get it cut out, we'll get it welded in, we'll do some math, we'll figure out the bow, and then we'll have that installed so it'll match the factory curve of that window. Alright, sorry guys, my camera died. I got the strip in, it's welded, and I got it primed with just some weld through primer because we're going to be welding the firewall to this guy. So this is it. This upper half is obviously going to be the window. This bottom half will be where the radiator can pull air from. More than likely have water pump, battery, whatever other random stuff we have in here. We'll have reservoirs mounted on the firewall here once that is in and welded to this bar. Like I was saying, we cannot weld this firewall in permanently yet. I need the roll cage to be in here so we can get the 2 down bars notched into the firewall, and then we can make it permanent. So is get the firewall up into place to where it's sticking up past the bar that we welded, and we're gonna trace right on the underside, and we're gonna cut the firewall to the same size. That way it'll go ahead and meet up perfectly with that bar. So let's get it in and get it traced. Now this bar does have a little bit of flex to it. You can see it kind of distort when I push on it. So we're going to take all of the tension off of it so it's not distorted at all. Make sure the firewall is where it needs to be, which it is. And I will just hold it with my foot. Again, making sure this isn't distorted at all. There's our mark. We'll go ahead and take it to the table and get it cut out. All right, this fits up beautifully. I mean, this is damn near perfect. The edges I need to trim a little bit. I really need to decide if I want to make it flush to the back or flush to the front. If I make this flush to the back, my entire weld seam is going to be exposed, which is fine. But I would rather maybe bring it into like the middle of this. That way I have a nice crisp edge on top and bottom. You won't have a big old ugly weld in your face. All right, the firewall is in. Start to get an idea on how it's gonna look. It's just floating here. It's all super loose, so you got all the gaps and everything all the way around. Those will all get filled Once the cage gets in, like I've already said a couple times, we're gonna notch the firewall, fit it in, and then we're gonna stitch weld around the entire thing from the front. I'm gonna seam seal all the way around on the back side, so this will be completely sealed off from the inside of the cab. That way we don't have to worry about any kind of debris or fire or whatever the case may be. So there it is, it's all roughed in, ready to be welded. Let's go ahead and throw the cage in real quick and I'll get back with you guys. And just like that, we got the cage in, no big deal, it only took just a second. So it's in now, everything is welded for the most part. I'm in the middle of actually making the other video installing the cage, but I wanted to jump back to this point in time to finish out how I'm gonna do this firewall. So my brother had a really good idea. I was debating on how I was gonna get that big sheet of steel in here and around these rear down bars here. We would have had to put a big old notch in the side and try to slide it down. And the way that this has to go in, it's just not gonna work out. So we came up with a good idea of using our cardboard template. We're gonna cut out exactly where the rear bars are, and then we'll transfer that over to our sheet of steel over here. And if we can get our measurements perfect, right where the template is, we should be able to just hole saw through the firewall. And then what we'll do is break off these bars. I just have one tack at the bottom. We'll get the firewall in here and we'll slide those tubes through the holes in the firewall and then weld it all up. And if we're perfect, we should be able to weld the firewall to the tubes themselves and it will all be completely sealed, super clean. Easier said than done, obviously, but we'll see if we can nail it. All right, so we got the firewall in place. My brother is marking out all of the dimensions so we can stitch weld all the way around. We got the holes cut in. We're about to put the bars in and see how it fits. We made some gussets here for the front. Look pretty sick. It's starting to get dark outside, so lighting isn't the best in here. I apologize. But he's gonna finish marking out where we're gonna do all the stitch welds for the firewall, and we're gonna put the tubes through and see how they fit. All right, so we got the firewall in. It's just spot welded in a couple spots. It's not stitched all the way in yet. I opened up these holes a little bit because the hole saw that I used was perfect size of the OD of the tube. So we'll see if it fits. Let's give it a go. Maybe I do have to open it more. Let's go. Is it on back there?
Yep.
It's lined up?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go. Sick.
Tack it.
And it's close enough. We can weld it. Sick. Let's go. All right, let me tack this into place. I'll show you guys the fitment.
Yep.
All right, so it's in. You see the clearance. Ooh, that's all tight enough to weld. Oh, man. Oh, it's barely even touching. Let's go. How sick. Good idea, dude. Oh, so cool. I was really not looking forward to putting a big old notch in the side of the firewall and fighting it to get it in. So doing it this way and feeding the tube through at the end. Ooh, I'm so happy. All right, let's get the other one in. We'll get them all welded out. So that one we didn't get as lucky on. We just need to open up a little bit more of this hole and it'll fit. All right, so firewall fitment, absolutely incredible. We can weld all the way around, so sick. Now, something else I've talked about before, when I built this fuel cell into the back seat, I didn't have the cage or any measurements or anything at all. So I went ahead and just scooted it all the way over up against the trans tunnel in hopes that this would clear. And look at this, a piece of paper. rubs and fits in there. Phenomenal. All right, all the cages together minus the driver's side harness bar. I have that piece cut out. I need to get that tacked in, but before I do that, I want to make sure all the work in the back is done because I don't want to jungle gym and monkey and climb through with this all the time. So we're just going to get to it. We're going to start welding some stuff up, welding up the firewall, down bars, everything that's left. So yeah, let's get after it. Alright guys, I'm not too sure what I caught last night. We were just out here jamming for a while. The rear firewall is all done. We were able to weld the front and back of the rear down bars to the firewall. I'm super happy with how it came out. This is exactly what I had pictured, and it worked really good. So now that I'm pretty much done in the back, I do still need to make a firewall for the fuel cell. It's just gonna kind of be like a little hood that's gonna butt up to the firewall, and the filler tube and vent and all kinds of stuff can just go to the back where I'm gonna have all of those accessories. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. The firewall is all done. It looks so good. The back of the firewall, like I was saying, is welded all the way around. Battery tray got remounted. It was actually in the exact same spot where I had it, so didn't even need to cut it out. Anyways, that's in. It's all good. Everything's all welded. I do still need to go around and seam seal the firewall on the back side here just to make it completely sealed off from the back of the cab, but we'll do that before we paint. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we're gonna keep jamming. I got more stuff coming this week, and we're just gonna keep on making some progress. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.